So I've got a lot of things I'd like to do the NFC Ring to do in the future. Obviously more community-based stuff, and like I know it's not a buzzword so much, but I know it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, it needs to do community-based stuff, right? Whatever, but we need to make it so that people can access this technology and it's owned by the people and used by the people, and not by the big contractors and stuff that have been approaching us so far. It's cool that those guys want to use it, and we want them to be able to use it, but we don't want this technology to be misused. It needs to be owned by the people, and so with that in mind, we want to make it so that people can create their own and stuff like that. But we also need the company to be sustainable, and we think we've kind of got that locked down, and we understand how we're going to do that. So what we wanted to do is we've created a roadmap for where we want to go in the future. So one of the big challenges is, if we're successful with Kickstarter, which we really hope that we are, is to obviously produce your rings, right? Get them out to people, get feedback in, iterate, improve, lots of small improvements on the first core model. There will obviously need to be changes and improvements, and we completely understand that, and that's part of the process. We're happy to do that and support people through it. One of the big challenges early on, as far as away from the core product, was to make a web-based tool where you could measure your ring size. That will be available at launch for people that are purchasing the item. And we're releasing that completely open source, and people can contribute to that and fork and branch and all the other cool stuff that comes with using a Git flow model. So after that, and after we've done like the launch and it's all, people have got it, then we have some challenges for the future. Passing more parameters with applications. So essentially when I tell you to open an application such as Skype, I might want to give you a parameter that comes with that. Now, if that's not currently encoded in like a MIME URL type format, it can get a little bit tricky. We'd like to be able to improve that. We'd also like to be able to improve the Apache Cordova support for NFC. Now, Chariot Solutions, a guy called Don, has done a fantastic job so far, and we'd love to be able to support him further with improving the Windows Mobile and the BlackBerry support. Apple, it's up to you. We want to work with you. Things may happen. We don't know yet. Everything's up in the air with Apple. Now, on top of that, we'd really like to lobby the Android community to have we call it graceful fallback of authentication. Now, essentially, what that means, it's a lot of long, big words, and it kind of sounds pointless, but basically what it means is that when you come to unlock your mobile phone, if your NFC ring, for whatever reason, doesn't work, it's not going to be broken, but let's just say, for example, somebody sprayed metal on the back of your phone and therefore NFC stopped working. Something silly like that. Anyway, Android doesn't really support a graceful fallback, where if your NFC doesn't work, you can use a pattern or something like that. And we'd like to lobby the Android community and help fund the Android community to include that functionality. And obviously on top of that, at the same time, we'd like to introduce NFC unlock into the core of not only Android, but obviously Winmo and BB as well. And obviously Firefox OS is a huge potential, I guess not so much market, but we're huge fans of Mozilla. I've done quite a bit of contract work with Mozilla and worked with them. I helped them maintain their Etherpad stack. They've always been great supporters of projects I've worked in the past. So we'd love to be able to get the NFC Ring really promoted on the Firefox OS and give people a really rich experience there that's native and fast and snappy, and because everything's all JavaScript, it should be single language and easy to maintain and stuff, so that'd be cool. So that's basically that point, and that's like what we want to get done this year. That's 2013. 2014, we want to head more into like making really customizable experience for people. So platinum rings, different colored metals, different material rings, all these kind of like ring, basically so that we can understand more about which materials we can work with to make the rings. And also we'd like to be able to fab up a lab. Create a fab lab, so somewhere where we don't have to ship stuff off to like China or ship stuff halfway around the world for production and testing and prototyping. We want to be able to prototype locally, like as local as possible. So probably San Fran and then in the UK, maybe not San Fran, but US and the UK. We'd like to have a lab in both of those places where our engineers can work on the prototypes. And then, you know, if it does come to production, it'd be nice to have a production facility outside of China. Really, it depends on scale, but that is something that we'd be aiming to do, so that we've obviously got high availability inside of China, but when you move outside of China from a production point of view, we've not got high availability yet, and that is something we'll be looking at doing in 2014. So after we've done some customization, and in 2014, 2015, we'd like to work further on like I said, platinum, but also gold rings, silver rings, and different materials. And then going into 2016, we'd like to work more towards touch payments and being able to use your ring for really like super high security stuff. And what that means is that we've got to create application specific inlays. There's technical challenges and stuff that I don't want to go too far into. We really want to support the NFC standard and the NFC forum with maintaining the NFC ISO 14443. What we don't want to do is start building proprietary stuff where only we can interact with it, and you've got to have special readers. That'd suck. And that's one of the reasons that we want to try and bring security more into the forefront as far as, you know, NFC is concerned. And that it's a big job. We'll probably have to work with a couple of banks or something to achieve that. And that's why we'll need to have been around for a few years with enough exposure and enough users for a bank to approach us and for them to put the funds forward, because it is a lot of work. So after 2016, and after we've got like this amazing ring that can do all these amazing things, really we're starting to think more about like you as an individual and how you interact with the ring. So we'd like to start looking at getting the possibility of an internal battery in there with some additional components. Now, it's tough to say exactly what the use case and applications will be for having an internal battery and additional components in there, but we do know that we can store it might not be a battery in the common sense of the word, like a capacitor. We do know that we can store current inside of the ring, right? A charge. And we can top that up using induction. As you'll know, there's wireless charging exists, so it's essentially the same concept of that. Now, once you've got induction and once you've got battery inside of the ring, and that means that you can start doing cool stuff with, you know, CMOS and you know, cameras and all these kind of stuff. But really, at the moment, we're a few years away from knowing exactly how. But our use case is where you are able to. So an example would be, and this is again very far-fetched and in the future, where you'd have an incredibly high power but incredibly precise LED and camera inside of the ring that periodically, say it was once every hour, took a measurement or took a snapshot of the blood platelets under your skin. Now, you may think, well, there's no point to that, is there? Well, there kind of is, because if we can see the platelets and we can see what's going on, then what we're basically able to do is not in not so many ways, but we could use the NFC to then transmit that data, store it on the ring, transmit it when it comes into, say, contact with your mobile phone, which it will do periodically, and analyse the data that it's gathered. Again, far-fetched. We will probably take 5 years plus to at least to get to that point. But it is certainly on the roadmap and certainly something that we'd like to do. So that's about 5-6 years away. Maybe 7 or 8 years for induction charging, and then maybe like 2 years or so after that, we'll be looking at doing stuff like Wi-Fi, which is massively power intense and going to be difficult, and then light indicators. So if you can pair your ring up with your phone, is there a way that we can use lower power Bluetooth, say for example, to allow your ring to maybe interact with its environment to let you know if you've got a text message or a SMS message and email or something like that. So there's a lot of challenges. We've got a lot that we'd like to do in the future. A lot of it depends on how successful we are on initial kickstart, naturally. But it should be really interesting, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. We're not going to control this project in a way that will restrict other people developing items around it. We have a very sensible and a very general rule around our patents. Our patents are there to defend us, so that we can manufacture the ring and so that we can give it to people and provide it as a service. If somebody else wants to create a very similar product that has slightly different functionality, or even the same functionality, we'd be happy to see that. We'd like to work with you. We're all about getting the NFC Ring out to people and getting it so that people can use it and to make their lives better. So hopefully you've got a good idea of where we're going, and please do get in touch if you've got any ideas or thoughts. Thank you.